Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Authorities in Western Australia say that a 25-year-old man is seriously injured this week after he was thrown from the roof of his vehicle while trying to prevent it from being stolen. According to reports, the incident began on the evening of May 1st when the unidentified 25-year-old victim was at his home on Camboon Road in the Perth suburb of Naranda. It was about 7:40 p.m. when the man spotted someone who appeared to have broken into his 2016 Ford Ranger, which was parked outside. The 25-year-old ran to the vehicle, managing to grab onto the roof just as the thief started driving away. Apparently undeterred by the dangerous situation, the suspect proceeded to drive at high rates of speed on local roads, leaving the victim to cling to the roof for his life while shouting for help. This continued for several kilometers until the suspect struck a parked car on Emberson Road. The impact sent the 25-year-old flying, causing serious injuries when he hit his head on the pavement below. At this point, the car thief continued to flee the scene, leaving the wounded man lying in the middle of the road. The 25-year-old was taken to a local hospital where thankfully he is said to be in stable condition. However, at the current time, investigators say that they are still searching for the suspect and the man's stolen vehicle. The vehicle has been described as a white 2016 Ford Ranger equipped with a white canopy, black snorkel, and black roof rack. Anyone with information about the incident is encouraged to reach out to police. The disturbing story of a Chinese traveler made headlines this week after he was allegedly given a room in a popular hotel that was later discovered to be a chilling crime scene. According to reports, the whole thing started around noon on April 21st, when the 37-year-old man, identified by the last name of Sun, checked into the Guzhong Shuhua Inn in the Tibetan city of Lhasa. The hotel apparently has a reputation online as a so-called influencer hotspot and is known as a great place for taking photos. After being shown to his room, Sun immediately noticed a strange smell, though at first didn't think much of it. He relaxed for a bit, taking a short nap, before heading out to do some sightseeing around 3:30. When Sun returned to his room several hours later, he once again noticed the smell, but he was only in there for a few minutes to change for dinner. He told himself that maybe it was the hotel's heating system causing the odor, or maybe it was the smell of his own feet, since he had been walking around all day. However, when Sun came back from dinner and the smell had grown worse, he decided he couldn't ignore it any longer. He went to the front desk, explained the situation, and was moved to a different room. Sun thought that was the end of it, until later that night when he was awoken by a knock at his door. It was hotel staff who explained that they needed him to come back to the room he had previously vacated. It turned out that a dead body had been found hidden under the bed there, the same one that Sun had slept on that afternoon. Sun says that when he followed staff, he was greeted by police who took a statement from him and collected a sample of his DNA. They told him not to worry though, as a suspect had allegedly already been arrested in connection with the case. Apparently, Sun detailed this whole disturbing story in a review he left on the hotel's website. However, nothing much happened until a week later when someone else saw it and posted it to Chinese social media. Understandably, the story quickly went viral. When it did, the hotel responded to the incident, calling Sun a liar and claiming that they had closed for renovations, not a police investigation. However, Sun was reportedly vindicated when Chinese authorities confirmed the arrest he had spoken about had taken place. The suspect was apparently arrested while boarding a train from Tibet to the city of Lanzhou. At the time of this recording, few other details have been released about the chilling case, though police have stated that the situation is being investigated as a murder. Neither the suspect nor the alleged victim have been identified. Representatives from England's Devon and Cornwall police say that a 32-year-old man is dead this week and several other people are injured following a stabbing attack outside of a local nightclub. According to reports, the incident began at around 3:15 a.m. on April 30th when police were called to Victoria Square in the town of Bodmin. When officers arrived at the scene, they found 8 people suffering from stab wounds. 7 of them were rushed to the hospital, while 1 was sadly pronounced dead. He has since been identified as a 32-year-old man named Michael Allen. While few details have been released about the attack at the time of this recording, investigators say that the stabbing incident was the result of a, quote, serious altercation outside of the Eclipse nightclub. Some of the victims had reportedly been at the club earlier that night, though it's unclear if the incident was related to something that happened there. A 24-year-old man named Jake Hill has been arrested in connection with the case and is now facing charges of murder, attempted murder, and causing grievous bodily harm with intent. At least 1 person currently remains in the hospital recovering from surgery, while several other victims have since been discharged. In the aftermath of the tragedy, friends and family of Michael Allen took to social media to pay tribute to his life. He was described as a kind-hearted, funny, and upbeat man who loved rugby and dogs. A tribute to Michael has also since been set up at the Bodmin Rugby Club where he played. At the time of this recording, the investigation continues. Authorities in the Japanese city of Osaka say that a 29-year-old woman is facing charges in connection with a disturbing murder and domestic violence case after she allegedly killed her boyfriend by attacking him with a scalding cup of soup before drowning him in their bathtub. According to reports, the incident began sometime on the afternoon of April 30th when police received an emergency call from 29-year-old Momoka Tanuchi. When officers arrived at the woman's residence, she led them into the bathroom, where they discovered the body of her boyfriend, identified only as a man in his 30s. Tanuchi proceeded to tell police that before they had arrived, she and her boyfriend had gotten into an argument. Things had gotten heated, during which time she claimed that he had slapped her in the face. She said she responded by pouring a boiling container of instant cup ramen on him. Tanuchi stated that after being scalded, her boyfriend had gone into the bathroom to clean himself up, but she had grown concerned when he didn't return after 15 minutes. When she went to check on him, she discovered that he had drowned in the bathtub. Needless to say, authorities were a little more than skeptical about the 29-year-old's version of events. First of all, how had her boyfriend just suddenly drowned? Also, these weren't the only injuries he had sustained. It turned out that he had multiple knife wounds to the lower part of his body as well. It appears that Tanuchi had no explanation for this. The 29-year-old was arrested on suspicion of murder and currently remains in custody. Authorities in the Thai province of Chiang Mai say that they are investigating the mysterious disappearance of a 35-year-old woman as a possible abduction and murder case this week after chilling clues were recovered in a vehicle connected to the prime suspect. According to reports, the incident began sometime on April 29th when the alleged victim, identified only by the pseudonym Om, met with a 41-year-old customer at a coffee shop in Sai District, close to the car dealership where she worked. She was reported missing that same day when family members were unable to reach her. The following day, Om's cell phone was tracked to a boarding house in the same district where police were able to find the 41-year-old man she had met with, identified as a delivery driver by the last name of Natapon. However, before officers could speak with the man, he fled the scene. Following a search of the premises, investigators reportedly discovered a Toyota Yaris belonging to Natapon's girlfriend. The vehicle allegedly contained a variety of disturbing clues, including a hammer, cable ties, used condoms, a plastic bag normally used in hotels for laundry, and a blood-stained pair of glasses, which Om's daughter has confirmed are identical to ones worn by her mother. A white pickup truck apparently belonging to Natapon and containing several motorcycles was also reportedly found near a temple in an adjacent district. Authorities say that they believe Natapon left the vehicle here on the day of Om's disappearance and was later picked up by his girlfriend. After announcing to the public that they were searching for Natapon, he was spotted by a local in the city of Chiang Mai, and police were reportedly able to track him down and detain him. At the time of this recording, he remains in custody and is being questioned in connection with Om's disappearance, while detectives say they are continuing to follow up on additional leads. The situation is still developing. Authorities in Peru say that they are searching for a trio of bumbling thieves this week after they robbed a high-end shoe store, though only managed to make off with half of what they intended to steal. According to reports, the incident took place in the early morning hours of April 30th in the city of Huancayo. The suspects arrived at the store at around 2:30 a.m., and almost immediately, things didn't go as planned. First, the thieves couldn't get through the locks on the front door, so they were forced to leave and come back. A second attempt with new tools also failed. It was only after an hour of trial and error that the suspects were eventually successful. After finally making their way into the store, the thieves helped themselves to as much of the business's merchandise as they could fit into their vehicles. In all, police estimate that they took 220 shoes before fleeing the scene. The crime was discovered the next day by the 37-year-old owner, who arrived at her business to find that the place had been ransacked. Sadly, the equivalent of about $14,500 worth of products were missing. There was a notable catch, though. Now, you may have noticed that before, when we mentioned that 222 shoes were missing, we did not say 222 pairs of shoes. This was intentional. You see, the criminals had only managed to get away with 220 individual shoes, all of which were for right feet. It turned out that as a security measure, the business owner had separated the pairs of shoes and stored their corresponding left feet separately. So yeah, the suspects may have gotten away with the loot, but it sounds like they're going to have a hell of a time selling it off. At the time of this recording, police are still searching for the thieves. They hope that since the stolen merchandise will be hard to get rid of, that when they find those responsible, they will be able to recover most of it. Authorities in the Portuguese city of Setúbal say that 4 people are dead this week after a man shot 3 of his friends following a heated argument and then turned his weapon on himself. The incident took place at around 8 a.m. on April 30th in the city's Barro Azul neighborhood. Little has been released about the crime, aside from the bizarre thing that is said to have motivated it: a dispute over pigeon racing. According to reports, 4 men between the ages of 30 and 60 had been racing the birds when an argument broke out between them. Sources don't specify the exact cause of the pigeon-related disagreement, other than to say that it reportedly had to do with racing and breeding. An illegal vegetable garden may have also been part of the dispute, some sources state. Anyway, according to local media, the oldest member of the group grabbed a shotgun after the argument and fatally shot the others before turning the weapon on himself. When police arrived, all of the men were declared dead at the scene. None of the names of those involved appear to have been released at this time. Authorities in the Serbian capital of Belgrade say that 9 people are dead this week and several others are injured following a terrifying shooting at a well-known primary school. According to reports, the incident took place on May 3rd at the Vladislav Ribnikar School located in Vračar, an upscale area of the city. It began shortly after 8:30 a.m. when a 13-year-old student, who has not been identified by name, walked inside and immediately reached into his bag. He was carrying 2 loaded handguns, additional ammunition, and 4 Molotov cocktails. After pulling one of the handguns out of the bag, the 13-year-old fatally shot the school's security guard before heading into a nearby classroom and sitting down at his desk as if nothing had happened. He reportedly shot 2 students in the room moments later before getting up and walking towards his history classroom. Along the way, he continued firing shots down the hallways, shooting his teacher and other students from the doorway once he arrived at the history room. When the horrifying attack was finally over, the teen reportedly went out into the schoolyard, released the magazine from the weapon he was using, and threw it down the steps. He then called the police on himself, and then chillingly waited to be arrested. He was taken into custody minutes later. A total of 9 people have so far been declared dead as a result of the horrifying incident, 8 of whom are said to be students between the ages of 13 and 14. At least 6 other students and 1 teacher have also been hospitalized, with reports stating that several of these victims are currently fighting for their lives. At the time of this recording, almost no additional information is known about the suspect or his alleged motive behind the attack. Disturbingly though, based on evidence investigators have found, it's alleged that the teenage suspect planned the shooting for weeks and kept a so-called kill list that included information about which victims he intended to prioritize and which classrooms he would go into first. The weapons used in the attack reportedly belonged to the 13-year-old's parents, who have also now been arrested in connection with the attack. It's been reported that the boy went to shooting ranges with his father more than once before the crime. The suspect will reportedly be sent to a psychiatric clinic while the investigation continues, according to local media. Under Serbia's current laws, he cannot be held criminally responsible for the attack as he is under the age of 14. This has led to calls for reform from many, including the country's president, Aleksandar Vučić, who has suggested he may try and lower this age to 12 in the wake of the tragedy. Vučić has also proposed other reforms, including an audit on firearms licenses, as well as tightening the rules around access to shooting ranges. In the meantime, a national 3-day mourning period has been announced that will begin on May 5th. At the time of this recording, the investigation continues. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.